More competition means better products and better prices for consumers. And I have good news for you guys, and that's because there is yet a new competitor in town, a new brand for that matter, DFSK. And in this video, let's take a look at one of their offerings, the DFSK E5 plug-in hybrid 7-seater SUV, and see what it has to offer. Let's first take a look at the DFSK E5 plug-in hybrid electric vehicle from the outside. And right here in front, you can see just how futuristic this car looks. In fact, they even call this grille the futuristic dot matrix front face. And you can really see why. There's just so much dots on it. You also have the starry, shining, illuminated E logo right here by the middle. This, by the way, is the logo of DFSK. You now get LED headlamps on it with nice blue accents inside too, and a strip light down the middle. Plus, these like vents, which actually kind of lead to somewhere in there by the bumper. Now, over at the side of the vehicle, you'll appreciate just how large this vehicle is. Being a 7-seater crossover, it should go up against the likes of the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro, for example. For your wheels, this is what they call the 19-inch 5-star rims over here. So it has 5 spokes on it, and these are also low coefficient of drag rims because they even have these like plastic wheel covers in the middle to improve your aerodynamics. Now, other things you get here on the side include a roof rail on the top, as well as privacy glass for the second row passengers, as well as the third row passengers. That way, you don't really need to tint this car anymore insofar as the second and third row goes. Now, moving towards the rear of the DFSK E5, the first thing you'll notice here is this lighting assembly. So they call this the through-type LED tail lamps, but I think what they mean there is that it has a light bar down the middle, and it looks pretty good as it is. Of course, you still have that E logo here at the back, but unfortunately it's not illuminated here. Now, with this power tailgate up, you'll notice that space in here in terms of cargo space is pretty impressive. You can really put a lot of luggages in here, provided that the third row seats are folded down. Now, what if you have them folded up or raised up? Well, let's take a look at it now, and it is still pretty decent. I mean, like one medium-sized luggage will still fit in here, and a couple of soft bags too. And most of the time, when third row seats are up, you don't really get much, but for this one, that is pretty good. Now, powering the DFSK E5 is this hybrid engine, right? So starting off with the ICE component, you have a 1.5-liter naturally aspirated gasoline engine making 110 horsepower and 135 Newton meters of torque. This is then mated to a 17.52 kilowatt-hour battery and motor, which now produces 177 horsepower and 300 Newton meters of torque. Now, DFSK claims that the maximum pure electric range that you can get with this vehicle is 87 kilometers, and most of the times that is overly optimistic, but in our tests we actually reached up to 99 kilometers of pure EV range. Now, that is once again pretty impressive. Now, also, since it is a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, if you fill up the gas tank all the way and you also charge up the batteries all the way to 100%, well, guess what? Your maximum range is now rated at 1,150 kilometers. So you get the full EV experience without any of the range anxiety. Unlike a regular hybrid, the DFSK E5 plug-in hybrid has a much bigger electric battery that can be charged up via this Type 2 plug at home or at charging stations found in malls, for example. Now we move inside the interior of the DFSK E5, and the first thing that you'll immediately notice in here is just how premium the materials are. So let's start off with the dashboard. That is incredibly plush. You move on over towards the doors, and those are also covered in a lot of soft touch materials. Frankly, even the center console right here, where your knees would hit, those are all padded too. So yes, that is really nice. The seats too are pretty nice, are pretty comfortable, very ergonomic feeling, ventilated and heated as well, and 6-way power adjustable for the driver's side and 4-way power adjustable for the passenger side. Now let's move on to the other things that you get in here. So your steering wheel, it feels very stately because it is very thin and it's also 2-spoke too. That is something that reminds me of a lot of a flagship luxury full-size sedan. So yes, I really enjoy this steering wheel. Now for your screens, you have a 7-inch digital instrument cluster, and a 12.3-inch center touchscreen that is also pretty responsive and comes with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, as well as a 360-degree top-down view camera. Very impressive. Now, if you go on over to the top, there's even a panoramic sunroof. Now, what about your auditory experience? Well, you have a 12-speaker audio system in here with an external amplifier. And to top it all off, you even have a wireless charging pad, a large electronic shifter, and an intelligent air purification system. Now, for your safety features inside the DFSK E5, well, you get blind spot monitoring system, you get lane changing assist, you get rear collision warning, rear cross traffic alert, and a door opening warning. For your airbags, you get 6 of them, and you even have a tire pressure monitoring system. Now, moving on towards the second row of the DFSK E5, and it is equally as impressive as the front, because if you take a look at the doors over here, you get very similar levels of soft touch materials, with the exception of the top part, because that's already hard touch plastic. But here it's all plush. Even down here, those are all padded. And also, I mentioned earlier that this comes with privacy glass. It really does help out a lot in keeping this feel a little bit more exclusive. Now, in terms of space, it's also really good because of the sheer length and size of this vehicle. Look at how much legroom I have. I am only 5'6" tall, but I'm pretty sure even though you are 6 feet tall sitting behind yourself, you'll be absolutely fine behind here. At the same time, your headroom, that is also really, really good. I don't care how tall you are, you will fit comfortably here at the back. Now, for your toys, you do get your own 2 air vents, a rarity nowadays in Chinese vehicles especially. You have 1 USB-A port, and you also have this center armrest with 2 cup holders. Plus, you can also recline these seats, if I can find it somewhere. I believe it's on here on the side. Okay, there you go. You can recline all the way, and it goes pretty far back. Really good. Now, is seating 3 abreast possible? Remember I said that this car is very large, and so yes, you can easily do that, because not only do you have more than enough shoulder room back here, but you also have a completely flat floor. Now, don't forget that this is a 3-row 7-seater SUV, so we'll show you that right now. And here we are now. Let's go on over towards the 3rd row of seats, and this just slides. It's pretty easy to get in. Now, follow me over here, and there's 2 extra seats here at the back. And even with these seats in their normal reclined position and with them slid all the way back, me, as a 5'6" tall individual, I still have around an inch or so of legroom, so not bad overall. Even for longer trips, I don't think this would be too bad of an experience. And in case you need some extra legroom, well, just ask those 2nd row seats to just slide their seats a little bit more forward. After all, they have tons of legroom back there. So now we drive DFSK E5 plug-in hybrid SUV. And driving this vehicle, it's surprisingly good, because in a lot of these 7-seater crossover SUVs, they're simply too big, right, to handle pretty well. And while they are tuned for comfort and usually comfort alone, they're not very exhilarating when it comes to the driving experience. But with the DFSK E5, it is really good, because your power in its hybrid mode is excellent. DFSK calls this the electric prioritized hybrid system, and you really do feel it, because even in hybrid mode, you still get that electric vehicle, pure electric vehicle feel with your instant torque, with a very responsive throttle. Especially if you put this into sport mode, this one really goes. It is proper rapid, especially for the size of this vehicle. And you might ask me, okay, so in the hybrid electric vehicle mode, you get lots of power, but what if you drive it in its pure EV mode? Is the DFSK E5 still pretty good? Well, the answer is yes, because even in its pure EV mode, the DFSK E5 still gives you tons of power on tap. Of course, since you are running on that electric motor, you get super quick responses with your throttle, as well as instant torque too. Everything is just whisper quiet in here, which now brings me on to another important thing: the noise, vibration, and harshness suppression. Now, let's start off with noise. Everything is whisper quiet in here. You can be traveling in city speed with rough roads, you can be traveling at highway speeds, and still, wind noise and tire noise will be very well subdued. When it comes to vibrations too, even if that gasoline engine cuts into the hybrid system, for example, and replaces or supplements that electric motor, you don't feel the transition. It's really good, unlike some other brands. And for harshness, earlier I told you that most of the 7-seater crossovers, yeah, they're soft, but they're not fun to drive. But this one, despite it being pretty fun to drive,
the suspension still soaks up most bumps, if not all bumps, really, really well. So the best way to describe the driving experience in here would be smooth. And now, for the fun part of things, aside from having a good amount of power, the handling is also surprisingly good in this one. I mean, I'm going pretty fast right here, right now, over these like bends, right? And it can still handle itself with poise pretty well. There's not much body roll. I mean, there is a little bit given the size of it still, but really for its class, this is pretty impressive. The steering, it's not too light either. It's great inside the city, but on the highway, it does give you lots of reassurance, so you won't feel like, oh no, you know, the steering's too light for my liking for the size of this vehicle. It's not. It's tuned really, really well. The DFSK E5 plug-in hybrid electric vehicle 7-seater SUV is honestly pretty impressive. In most 7-seater crossovers, you really do have to throw driving dynamics out of the window, but with this vehicle, you don't, and you still maintain all the comfort. So for now, just stay tuned for that official brand launch as well as the official launch of this DFSK E5 plug-in hybrid.